The next call is a split call. Barry Coates, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague has said, the Green Party gives a broad welcome for this bill, which we regard as a contribution to cleaning up some areas of inconsistency and making the regulation fit for purpose. We think that regulation needs to be relevant, up to date, fit for purpose, and particularly not significantly burdensome on small companies or on members of the public. And we have an ongoing concern that there has been a tendency for regulation to be excessively influenced by larger companies to the detriment of smaller companies who bear far higher compliance costs than they should do. I'm particularly talking about the regulatory systems, commercial matters aspects of the 3 pieces of legislation. We don't at this stage have an exhaustive analysis of the proposals and look to do that at the committee stage. We will be looking closely at some of the issues, the provision of information from directors under the Companies Act seems to us to be very relevant and in needing perhaps of strengthening rather than just cleaning up. The financial statements from subsidiaries, we're concerned about the potential for allowing foreign companies to avoid disclosure in New Zealand, and the notification requirements for listed companies. There are, of course, other aspects under the Companies Act that may also give rise to concern. Under the Commerce Act, we're concerned about levies to cover the expenses for Commerce Commission and the effect that may have on equity and the ability to pay. Under the Fair Trading Act, we see the revision of these share of responsibilities between what falls under the Fair Trading Act and what falls under the FMA. And we want to make sure that there is a adequate recognition of the fair trading responsibilities within the finance sector and that the split of responsibilities doesn't diminish those responsibilities. Particularly under the heading of Financial Markets Authority, we welcome the strengthening of regulatory powers under this section, and we would question whether they go far enough. We're intrigued to see the Secret Commissions Act 1910 be assigned enforcement power. This has to do with bribery and corruption and has relevance to offences on bribery and corruption within the private sector. It relates to the OECD Convention on Bribery and Corruption, and we welcome a far stronger set of provisions around bribery and corruption that would affect the private sector and ensure that there is a high standard of financial integrity within the financial sector. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we would look forward to this bill getting the scrutiny that it deserves in the Select Committee. We look forward to that process. Like previous speakers, we would have preferred longer to be able to look at the details of this bill prior to the session, and we hope that that may be possible in future. Thank you.
I call the Honourable